While coming up with a concept for the Ludum Dare game jam that spawned Funkin, one of the ideas developer Ninja Muffin 99 had was for a racing game. According to the first podcast, episode 204, while Ninja Muffin was searching for an artist for their game, they stumbled upon a Drawing Newgrounds user Kid Brute made of their OC in a race car, which inspired musician Kawaii Sprite to make a racing game type song to match the image. Though Kid Brute's Newgrounds and the image are both gone, Kawaii Sprite's song Shake Ape Drift still exists. The game would still have the same early 2000s underground feel to it as Funkin, but with drastically different gameplay. Kid Brute was actually supposed to be in Funkin in the form of a small Easter egg that had the chance to appear when the game was launched. Upon noticing the rising popularity of Funkin, Kid Brute asked to not be included. The 1, 2, 3 Go samples used in Shake Ape Drift are later used in Funkin as Girlfriend's voice counting down the beginning of the song. Shake Ape Drift predates Funkin entirely. Daddy Dearest's left singing animation was originally only 1 frame due to a rendering error when exporting the sprites in Flash. This mistake was fixed in the Weekend 1 update, giving us the intended look from the beginning. The sole of Boyfriend's shoes have the letters NG on them after Newgrounds. Similarly, Darnell has a 99 on his sole, marking the year he debuted in Pico School. Phantom Arcade uses Sakuga Boru, a collection of animation references from different media as inspiration. This means that many of the animated shots inspired by anime and Funkin use this resource as reference. The sticker transition added to Funkin is inspired by the boss transitions from the No More Heroes series. The vacant white eyes that all Pico School characters have was inspired by Little Orphan Annie, a comic series that also has characters with simple white eyes. Additionally, Pico's original design was based on a label for children's Tylenol. Tankman's name is actually Sergeant John Captain, or just Captain, as seen in the Tankman series. He's just referred to as Tankman in the game and community for simplicity. Girlfriend's skeleton in her Stress Game Over animation is based on the Body Snatchers concept art for Metal Gear Solid 5. Boyfriend and Girlfriend have their own cards in the Binding of Isaac 4 Souls, likely due to both games having Newgrounds roots. The cards' abilities also mimic their roles in Funkin, with Boyfriend being able to play a loot card in response to any player's action, in reference to the call and response gameplay of Funkin, and Girlfriend having the ability to give the player health based on die rolls having the same result in a row, like how she keeps track of the player's combo in Funkin. Ninja Muffin 99 created a pitch video to the tune of Tiny Dancer by Elton John for Funkin to come to the Nintendo Switch, providing an image of the console running the title screen as part of the Movie Maker slideshow. This isn't the only Nintendo console the devs wanted to have Funkin on though. According to the Twitter space press conference No Nerds Allowed, there were design documents drafted before the release of Week 7 that outlined Funkin's functionality on the 3DS, as well as how Gyro, 3D, and Street Pass would have worked with this release of the game. Unfortunately, the 3DS is no longer supported by Nintendo, so the company that would have ported the game to the system didn't have the means to, as they had to return their dev kits. Speaking of ports, one of the higher tiers on the Funkin Kickstarter was a port to the PlayStation. This came about due to a number of inspirations for Funkin coming from this console, like Vib Ribbon and Guitaru Man. When the official makeshift Boyfriend and Girlfriend plushies launched, they were funded within an hour, and eventually sold over 13,000 plushies combined. The Funkin crew then followed up this plushie campaign with another, featuring official bootleg designs of the characters for April Fools. Abot's appearance during Weekend 1 is radically different from the original idea. Darnell was originally going to stand near Abot's giant hand that would react to his singing, reminiscent of a JoJo stand. One of the original ideas for Week 5 was to have the player and opponent rap battle on an escalator, revealing the interiors of stores behind them. The escalator would move up or down based on how well the player was doing in the song, having Boyfriend face off against multiple opponents. A bunch of merch of Rollis in the outskirts shows up frequently in the concept art. Coincidentally, the Rollis Kickstarter just launched. Pixel stages were pixel perfect with the release of the playable Pico update. This has since been removed due to camera movement being rigid, but Ninja Muffin has stated that they want the feature to return. In December of 2020, Funkin had a test song in the game files called Ridge, which contained a chart without any music. This song is actually urban fragments from the Ridge Racer Type 4 OST. The composer for this track, Kota Takahashi, would later work on Funkin by making the song high erect. Funkin now has its own built-in crash handler, which ironically enough, when the game first updated with it, the handler itself would crash. Funkin now has pretty good crash prevention, but if you ever miss it and want to crash the game for fun, the debug key is Ctrl-Alt-Shift-L. The colors of the arrows coincide with the colors of the buttons on the PlayStation controller. Suyanoshi and Kawaii Sprite worked together even before they were brought on for Funkin in the songs B2B, Don't Want More, and most recently, Without You. The vending machine with arms coming out of it in the Erect Mode album cover is the Newgrounds vending machine, a real, albeit non-functioning drink dispenser in the office. The music used in Funkin's Kickstarter trailer, Klasky Romper, completely predates Funkin itself, being made in 2019. The song was chosen due to the devs finding it appropriate for the trailer. Funkin was originally only going to have one difficulty, like in the prototype, but Tankman creator Johnny Utah was having trouble with the game during testing, so alternate charting for easier difficulties was created. The vocals on Shootin' Ropes, Pico's Perfect Results music, comes from Master Bit's Climax 6 Rhapsody Vocals 2, Knowledge My Wisdom, a well-known vocal sample used in other video game OSTs, like Hideki Naganuma's Black Hot Vodka, Needle from Capcom vs. SNK, and WWF SmackDown Just Bring It BGM 02. Coincidentally, guest composer for Funkin' Meta Room also sampled these vocals for their song Dog Bust with Telemist. Phantom Arcade and Ninja Muffin were in talks to make a rhythm game as early as 2017. According to old Discord DMs tweeted by Phantom Arcade, the title of Friday Night Funkin' was the only name the game ever went by. Pico's first appearance as his new Funkin' design was in the original Newgrounds release trailer for Funkin', and is actually still his original sketch before the line art got cleaned up for week 3. Monster's neck originally used to appear inside his mouth during his idle animation. This was later fixed. As it turns out, the symbol representing his head was set to the incorrect blend mode, hence why the neck appears only in the black parts of the head sprite. According to Ivan Almighty, the concept of the boyfriend figurine began when the original Ludum Dare build was created. Originally thought to be a joke limited run of about 15 figures, the concept grew when they had the option to add it as a Kickstarter reward. In the reference art created by Phantom Arcade for Ivan Almighty to model into the boyfriend figurine, we see a glimpse at the back of his head. We see an emoji-like face, likely inspired by the Newgrounds angry face. We now know this little detail has not since made the cut, but is a cool part of the character's initial look. When booting up Funkin', the game has several intro texts before introducing the game itself. One of these intro texts, trending only on X, changes the splash text for the game's title to be Friday Night Funkin', in reference to the game being misspelt when trending on Twitter. The title screen of Funkin' has several Easter eggs. Pressing left, right, up, down will play a Girlfriend song in place of the usual title music while the colors change, referencing the game's tutorial. Holding left or right will cycle through different colors, and pressing Y will cause the game window to move in a figure 8 pattern. Older builds of the V-Slice also feature an audio waveform during the Girlfriend Easter egg. The Funkin' devs created an ARG as a joke. In the Erect Mixes teaser trailer, the segment for the song Roses Erect contains a segmented QR code. When pieced together, the code links to a Discord image of binary code, which was then translated several times using different decoding methods before eventually landing on a YouTube link. Stratagem Friday Night Funkin' OST can then be put into a spectrogram, revealing an image of boyfriend in a chef hat holding a hot dog, an image that's been in the game files for years called Week 12 Leak. This overly complicated joke came about to poke fun at Funkin' sound team impersonators who make relatively lazy ARGs to garner implied legitimacy. The Week 2 song South was originally going to be called Spooky Down South before being shortened. It is named after the style of southern rap, being heavily inspired by artists like 3 6 Mafia. Lit Up Boyfriend Mix isn't made by Kawaii Sprite, instead produced by Saraki. Despite this, the song still has some of Kawaii Sprite's signature sound, as the song samples the lyrics of Chucky from the album Chucky Finster. The Funkin' logo went through a few color iterations before landing on the scheme it's known for now. The original draft had a sort of disco vibe to it, as at the time, Johnny Utah thought the checkered I in Friday was a disco ball and not a microphone. The logo was then colored like the Ludum Dare logo before finally landing on the one we know it for now. The team liked the idea of being able to change the logo color on beat, as seen in the Girlfriend title Easter egg. Daddy Dearest almost lost an iconic part of his look during production of the Ludum Dare prototype. When Phantom Arcade handed off the initial design of Daddy Dearest to artist Evil Skater for a second pass, Evil Skater shaved off Daddy Dearest's treasure trail. Phantom Arcade made a point to let the character grow it back for the final design when it was passed back to him. According to the Newgrounds podcast episode 31, all characters in the Ludum Dare prototype were designed by Evil Skater, except Girlfriend, who was 100% made by Phantom Arcade. The first song of the game, Tutorial, has the same charting for the song regardless of difficulty, except right at the end of hard. Apparently Ninja Muffin snuck those final notes in without telling the other devs, citing, "If you can't hit those notes on hard, you won't be able to play the other songs on hard." Funkin' was originally charted by a series of transparent PNG files representing the different segments of the game. When an actual chart editor was implemented into Funkin', one of the songs used to test it was Break the Targets from the Smash Bros. Melee soundtrack. There's an unused Weekend 1 track called Talkin' Smack, which is another version of the songs Fight and Explosive heard in this weekend's cutscenes. Talkin' Smack shares its name with a song on the Pico School soundtrack, which is a loop sampled from the song Ultrasonic Sound by Hive, which in and of itself samples the Bad Brains song Reignition. Ultrasonic Sound was a huge inspiration for Weekend 1's music and was originally included in Pico School due to the song being on the Matrix soundtrack. With that in mind, there's a good chance that Pico and Darnell fighting in the rain during Blazin' could be a reference or nod to Agent Smith and Neo fighting in the rain during The Matrix. The art of Boyfriend on the cover of the Funkin' OST Expansion Volume 2 album was drawn by musician Kawaii Sprite. This isn't his first album art, as he drew the cover of Artistic Expression featuring Boyfriend and Pico. Between the Week 7 and Weekend 1 update, Phantom Arcade tweeted a production still for the opening cutscene of Dudettes. Within the same time time frame, the still was colored, given a subtitle, and circulated under the guise that it was a leak. This is obviously fake, but it did make it into the base game in a bizarre way. The Newgrounds medal Yo Really Think So, awarded for beating Weekend 1, is a nod to this fake leak. The teaser trailer for Pit Stop 2 was edited by Sugar Moon using a modified version of Z Game Editor, a simple visualizer maker for FL Studio. According to Twitter user Sam Leaks, Friday Night Funkin' was included in the April 2025 Fortnite survey, gauging interest in Funkin' being included in Fortnite in some regard. Ninja Muffin 99 has expressed a desire to collaborate with other games like Balatro and Counter-Strike 2. Bo Peep Bo has gone through several changes between updates of Funkin'. With the Newgrounds release came an update to the first song of week 1, with toned-down auto-tuned vocals for Boyfriend and the background crowd during the latter half of the song being removed to name the two most notable changes. With the release of the Weekend 1 update came another change to Bo Peep Bo, combining the original Newgrounds release and beta versions of the song, giving Boyfriend his original vocals back and combining Boyfriend's combo sound and the backing crowd. There's an even older version of Bo Peep Bo than the one currently in the Ludum Dare build. Technically, the Ludum Dare version of Bo Peep Bo is version 2, as Kawaii Sprite's SoundCloud Drug Pop shows a version of the song with a longer opening and closing instrumental, as well as more demonic sounding vocals for Daddy Dearest. Funkin's OST has been scrubbed from the Drug Pop SoundCloud due to the sound team having their own SoundCloud now, but the song can still be viewed and listened to using the Wayback Machine. In the Pico version of Stress, Nene is replaced by Pico's cousin Otis, a top A-bot. Takeman calls him a knockoff, in reference to Otis originally being a recolor of Pico in the Pico's Cousin fan-made spin-off. Funkin's iteration of the character was designed by artist Gak Denzo, whose concept art was used by the team while making Otis's sprites. Stress Pico Mix broke an unspoken rule regarding Funkin's icons. All of the icons used by player and opponent alike use a small amount of colors to stay simplistic, but when Takeman gets a knife to the brain, his icon uses 6 unique colors, the most out of any current character. The Funkin developer's TikTok page hosts a few teasers exclusive to the platform. For example, the scrolling text in the Pit Stop 2 teaser showed Weekend 3 and Week 9 only on the TikTok version of the teaser. Another teaser called Feelin' High on a Friday Night features 3D renderings of boyfriend and girlfriend dancing to presumably the unreleased Pico version of High. The instrumental features the motif of the teased beta version of High, showcased on musician Kawaii Sprite's Twitter. The dances girlfriend and boyfriend are doing in this teaser are references to Pico's Newgrounds Awards dance, Caramel Dancin', and the Newgrounds classic, Castle Crashers.